So I kind of thought it would be helpful to start this by saying what my thoughts are on wrestling. Not a fan. It's no disrespect to the sport or to the people that do like it. It's just I never got it. Like, from a young age, I just saw wrestling and just thought, nah, not for me. So I've never liked it. I've seen the odd bit here and there, but yeah, it's never done anything for me. So if you're wondering whether this is a film for you to go and watch if you're not a wrestling fan, loved this film.
Put the bunny back in the box.
Starring, amongst others, Florence Pugh, Lena Headey, Nick Frost, Jake Loudon, Vince Vaughn and Dwayne Johnson. Directed by Stephen Merchant off of a screenplay that he wrote. This is my review for Fighting With My Family. Fighting With My Family is inspired by the true story of Paige, a well-known wrestler in the WWE. She hails from Norwich, or Norwich, as the Americans seem to say. And it follows her journey as she starts from doing amateur sort of wrestling into becoming the person that she ended up being and the kind of star that she was. Along the way, we check in quite a lot with her family, obviously by the title, who play quite a large part in this movie and played a large part in her story and in how she developed and how she became a wrestler. So yeah, as I said, I don't like wrestling. Not my thing. Just a taste thing. It's not for me. And I went into this film a little bit apprehensive because it's a movie about wrestling. So am I going to get a lot out of it? I mean, I guess on the same hand, like I enjoyed the first Saw movie, but I'm not really into torturing people. So just because you're not into something doesn't mean you shouldn't like the film, but it made me a little bit less excited about it. But what did make me take notice of this was Stephen Merchant, who wrote and directed this film. He's a very, very funny man. Even just watching him in interviews, there's just something very personal about him. He's a very witty person. Really enjoy watching him, and I was very interested to see a movie that he'd written and directed, even though it was about wrestling. Still strikes me a little bit left field that Stephen Merchant would write a film like this. But there you go. I'm glad he did, though, because the wrestling is prominent. It is very prominent in this. I mean, of course it is. It's a film about wrestling. We need to see a lot of wrestling. But what the movie does is it conducts itself and it goes about itself in a way that allows people who may not even have any idea really about wrestling to still get an attachment to this. And that's because the focus isn't so much on the wrestling, it's on the characters. And not just Paige, it's on her whole family. Each of those members of the family are integral characters in Paige's story and in Paige's journey. And they're integral characters in this film as well. It didn't feel like we were losing anything when we cut away from Paige getting up to whatever she's getting up to in LA to go back to Norwich again, because I was genuinely pleased to see these people because they're very, very well written. They're very, very funny. There's a lot of layers to them. They're just an interesting bunch, a very interesting family, and they're all perfectly cast. Everybody in this film is perfectly cast, starting with Florence Pugh, who just owns it as Paige. As I say, I've got no connection to the real Paige. Like, I don't know much about her other than that she was a wrestler. But I don't know what she was like as a person. I've not really seen anything that she's done. But I was able to just latch on to this character through this performance because she felt like a genuine and real person. She felt like she was going through real struggles, real sort of trying times to get to where she wants to be. And there are moments in the film where it starts to overwhelm her, and Pugh just is so perfect at this that every single one of those different aspects of this character she just completely nails. One of my favourite performances in quite some time, if I'm honest, because there's a vulnerability to this person, while at the same time I wouldn't want to cross fight with her because she could kill me, I think. But yeah, just the formidable side of her, the vulnerable side of her, just a lot of different parts of this character had to be tapped into, and every single one of them she did brilliantly. And so did the rest of the cast. This is the thing, it just feels like I'm going to be sitting here just praising how good these actors are, but they are. Nick Frost, I think this might be one of my favourite Nick Frost performances. And yes, I've obviously seen Shaun of the Dead and Hot Fuzz, but there's just, he's so perfect in this role. Absolutely perfect. He's hilarious. He's a guy who can seem very intimidating, but at the same time feel very warm and very welcoming. There's just no filter to him, or to his wife, actually. And that's another brilliant one, Lena Headey. I mean, she's more than Cersei. She was great as Sarah Connor in the Terminator series, and I love that actress, and this is a very different sort of role for her. But again, her and Nick Frost together, it's just the dream team. They just make a better combination than I could ever have imagined them making. Jack Loudon plays her brother, Zach, in this one, and he really impressed me, actually, because he gets some of the more difficult things to work with out of all of the actors. I say this is a funny film. It is very, very funny in places. It made me laugh way more than I was expecting it to. But when it comes to the sort of the heavy drama and the darker side of the story, his character is the one it largely follows along with, because where he and Paige tried out for the WWE together, she got in, he didn't. And there's a decline in the character, there's a fallout from that. And it affects him very, very deeply, and we see that. And he's a great actor. I don't know if I've seen him in anything before, but yeah, instantly really impressed with him. And as I say with all of them, Vince Vaughn, love Vince Vaughn. I like the fact he gets more of these sort of half-serious roles now. This role is a serious role. It's not a comedic performance, but there's just something about Vaughn that's able to make it feel a little bit comedic at the same time. But he's really, really strong in this one. Dwayne Johnson is in it. I was a bit on the fence as to whether to say his name in the starring bit or not, because he's really not in it all that much. It's more of just an extended cameo more than anything else. But it's Dwayne Johnson. He's great fun. The guy's very, very personable, and he's very, very personable here too. But even though the performances are so good, the one thing I'm going to keep coming back to when I think about this movie is the script, because Merchant just crafted something that's, I think, almost perfect in a way, film-wise. I mean, I'm not going to give it a 10. There were sections that kind of felt like they went on a little bit. There were, I think, some choices creatively that could have been made a little bit differently, but for the most part, I was really, really impressed. Really impressed with this. It can be funny, it can be dramatic, it can be heartfelt. It really is a movie that just kind of puts you through the emotional ringer quite a lot. One second you can be laughing really hard, and the next minute you can be dealing with something very, very serious. And to get that balancing act to sync up as well as it's done here, full credit to Merchant. He's done a really, really good job with this. Because it needs to be a film that is accessible to people who don't just like wrestling. I mean, people might not like wrestling, but you still want them to go and see the film. And that's why I was saying that at the start of this. I don't want people to be put off because it's a movie about wrestling. Because, yeah, it is, but it's all about character. It's much more about the character than any of the in-the-ring shenanigans. But we see some of that, we do, and to be honest, it's quite fun. I mean, I'm still not going to go and check out wrestling at any point, because as I say, it's not for me, but I can kind of see some of the enjoyment in it just from this film. It does present wrestling in quite a fun and quite a sort of interesting way. I took a look at it in ways that I hadn't really thought about before, and there's a great through line as well. I mean, the fact that people call wrestling fake, that's touched on in this, and it's handled well, and the explanation for it and sort of the defence against that, I think was handled really, really well. It kind of made me appreciate the sport in a new way that I really hadn't before. And it's not just the WWE or the NXT, as it was called then, that gets the focus. It's also the amateur side of boxing back in Norwich. Zach has this sort of school of students, including a blind kid, that he's trying to train up to be a wrestler. And that works just as well as everything else. And that's the biggest surprise, because normally when we get little side plots like that, they feel they can be taking away from what we really want to see. But the movies that do it right, the movies that just absolutely know the right sort of balance, can make the side plot just as interesting and just as investing as the main plot. And it does it here. I don't remember any of these kids' names that were in this school, but I liked them. The ones that got the attention, I enjoyed them. I enjoyed watching them, and I kind of wanted to see a little bit more of that as well. So, yeah, a real pleasant surprise fighting with my family. I was hoping it was going to be good. I wasn't expecting to downright love it, especially as a non-wrestling fan, but I did. I really, really strongly recommend checking this out. Don't let the fact it's wrestling put you off if it possibly could, because it shouldn't, because it's much more than that. And at the same time, if you are a massive wrestling fan, I think you'll get a lot out of this. I think it will give you an insight into it that you may not have had before. I'm going to give Fighting With My Family a 9 out of 10, and that surprised me. I wasn't expecting to go that high for this movie, but yeah, really, really enjoyed it. But what did you think if you've seen it? If you've seen Fighting With My Family, let me know what you think about it in the comments below. What are your thoughts on wrestling as well? Have you liked it since a young age? Are you like me? You just never really got it? I've just always found it fascinating, wrestling, even if I haven't actually enjoyed watching it. It's like I appreciate it, but I don't quite like it. I mean, a weird one, but let me know what you think about it, because I know there's many, many wrestling fans, some super fans, and it's always kind of fun to hear about fandoms that you're not a part of. So yeah, do let me know. Do hit like and subscribe on this video if you enjoyed it and you do want to see more. Look out for more reviews coming soon. You can follow me on Twitter as well, @JoeJulians. Thank you very much for watching, and I will see you on the next video.